בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה, ברוכים הבאים, שבוע טוב, שבוע מבורך. בעזרת השם, tomorrow we're going to be in New York. For anyone that's watching, if you are in New York, definitely come to the events. We have one event in 5 towns, and the other event is going to be in Queens. Baruch Hashem, both of them should be relatively big size events, lots of people. Good people to meet, good people to learn with, B'ezrat Hashem. So that's also the reason why tonight I'm not going to be able to stay after the lecture for any one-on-ones unless it's completely urgent. And usually when it's urgent, you should call 911. But other than that, if you really need to talk to me after, please tell me. But if it's just chit-chat, day-to-day stuff that can wait, please let's wait. I have a flight in I don't know, 6 hours from now, something like that, or 9 hours from now. So, aside from that, today's shiur, B'ezrat Hashem, will be for Ilui Nishmat Re'ula Yecheskel ben Esther, and also for Refuah Shlema for Rav Alon Yehuda ben Chana Miriam, and also for Hatzlacha Rabba for Shaul ben Farzane Rachel. Zot Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring them the salvation that they need, whether it's a higher level in Gan Eden, a salvation in this world of having refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat guf, also Hatzlacha Rabba in this world and all the things that they do. Also refuah shlema for the usual tzaddikim that need more and more refuah, for Rabbi Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, David ben Esriya, Doris bat Jora, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Esther bat Tzipora, Dvora bat Mercedes, and all of Am Yisrael B'ezrat Hashem will have refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat guf. Oh, and also for Serach bat Batya, also have refuah shlema, refuat nefesh, refuat guf. Now, so I thought, there's a couple of really interesting subjects to talk about. I asked you guys what you guys wanted, whether you wanted to talk about a shiur I've been preparing for some time now about business, really more of the kosher business versus non-kosher business, or Purim. You guys chose Purim, so that means I'll do both. But one of the amazing things that I like to see is when people take my business advice. And the reason why is because my business advice does not actually have anything to do with real business of making money. My real business advice has to do with saving neshamot. People ask me for business advice all the time. I try to run away from it for 2 reasons. Number 1, I'm not really in the business world. But number 2, because I don't really want the headaches of if things work out or if things don't work out, and then people start calling me, telling me that it's my fault. Whether they succeeded, they blame me, it's my fault, as if it's not HaShem and it's me. Or if they fail, it's my fault, and if it's not HaShem. So I try not to deal with it, but sometimes I have to, because certain people use me for guidance, so I try to guide them the best that I can. But the most important business advice I tell people is the business of Kiruv, of saving neshamot. Helping Am Yisrael get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the best business in the world, because that's the one business that's guaranteed to bring you rewards in this world. Anyone that does it sees the rewards in this life. Not necessarily right away. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it takes a little time. But nonetheless, I've never seen anyone that consistently did Kiruv and did not have more blessing in their life. The problem with a lot of people that do Kiruv randomly is that it's usually they never get to see the blessing. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want you to just be like a bank robber once a year. You do something and then you leave. He wants you to make Kiruv one of the important priorities in your life. And sometimes when a person does it and he's successful or she's successful, the Yetzer Hara doesn't like it. Why? Because you're stealing his employees. So what does he do? He starts giving you different tests. Now if a person understands that the Yetzer Hara is testing you and trying to be the resistance, she continues to do Kiruv, no matter what. But if the person falls under the pressure, where they don't like that all of a sudden they're getting more flat tires, all of a sudden More people are sending them mail that they don't really like. All of a sudden, there are different issues that they think they didn't have before. So they fold, and they stop doing Kiruv, and in essence, lose the blessing. And it's chaval, it's mamash, it's sad to see it, but it happens unfortunately. So when someone starts doing Kiruv and they do it effectively, I'm very excited because I know that means that there's going to be more neshamot coming back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And there's nothing in the world that makes Hashem more happy than this, or happier than this. So today, God bless him, Ari, I gotta give him a big schut over here. He sent me some videos of him doing Kiruv in the streets, giving these movie cards. You know, there was a business advice I gave you guys last week. A few people from that watch us from Canada, from Los Angeles, from New York, also took the same advice, and Baruch Hashem, they got a bunch of cards, or they ordered a bunch of cards that we sent out to them, and some more are going to come out with Hashem this week. But also, Ari already got to work, so he sent me a video and some pictures of all different places that he's giving to people, movie cards, and each one of them is a potential neshama. Why? A person watches this shoe, he looks at this card, it looks kind of cool, looks like a movie from Hollywood or something, he looks in the back, Ari even showed be impacted. If you're not impacted, you should check your pulse. Why? Because the movie has to do with everything. If you're sick, if you're healthy, if you're afraid of being sick, if you have money, you don't have money, you want money, you're in an intermarriage, you know somebody that's in an intermarriage, you keep Shabbat, you don't keep Shabbat. Baruch Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a very, very special and unique tikkun. He gave us the whole Luna Park. He put us everywhere. Why? For Man Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, to learn different things from this story. So when people watch this movie, they get impacted in different ways, and they start watching the other shulim, and whether they're religious or not, they realize that there's more to do if you're a Jew. There's more to do, regardless of where you stand. So the movie, Baruch Hashem, has been a very big success to help people do teshuvah. So anyone that's giving out these cards is helping people get closer to the truth. The cards, as I told a few people, they're only 10 cents. So you can get a bunch of them for nothing. It's mamash, just understand. If somebody told me that, to get Gan Eden for yourself, you have to work an entire life of doing mitzvot. An entire life of doing mitzvot, let's say 70, 80, 90 years, you have to do mitzvot every day, more mitzvot, 100 brachot every day. You have to learn Torah every day. B'ezrat Hashem, you're going to get Olam Haba, right? You get one Jew, one Jew, I'm not talking about 1,000, one Jew to do teshuvah, you get 310 more worlds. Meaning you get more for his teshuvah than you get for yourself. So a person that understands this will start cashing out their retirement just to help people do teshuvah. But unfortunately, people don't understand. They think that they're going to do better on their own, or their retirement account is better invested in stocks instead of into neshamot, and in essence, they waste their time. And chaval, because you're seeing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants people to do teshuvah, wants them to do teshuvah. So for anybody that wants to do it, please let us know. It'd be wonderful if you could pay for it. If you can't pay for it, we'll try to send it to you like we did for a few people anyway. But it's first come, first served. B'ezrat Hashem will order more. And the CDs are still on the way. I got a notice from China that unfortunately it's still not on the way yet. B'ezrat Hashem, it will be soon. So
it's actually a neshama ticket.
Exactly, indeed. Every one is a neshama ticket. He gave it to a few ladies that were walking in the street. They asked him some questions. He showed them how to go to the movie, how to watch it. Baruch Hashem. It's very exciting to see people as excited about getting Am Yisrael closer to Hashem as we're excited about it. Because you see the world. You see what people are excited about. What are they excited about? One of the most bizarre things that I've noticed, people send me all types of clips of other rabbis talking, because apparently I've become the rabbi police. So the people send me all types of clips of different rabbis, and one of the most bizarre things that I've noticed has become a common trend is rabbis talking about the stock market. Like they make the examples of the stock market and investing and buying and selling in stocks, and I think it's very bizarre because I don't know. People came to learn Torah, not necessarily about stocks, but nonetheless, it's that it's the rabbi is doing it, not necessarily because the rabbi is a bad person, chas v'shalom, but rather he knows that's what everybody's mind is on. Yeah, they came to Shiur Torah, but in reality they're thinking, I'm going to come to the Shiur Torah so my stock portfolio will go up tomorrow. Maybe the rabbi sometimes is giving the Shiur Torah, so his stock portfolio goes up tomorrow. Who knows? But the point is that that's what people's mind is. People's mind is constantly thinking about their stock portfolio and their real estate portfolio and their business portfolio and all types of portfolios. And little do we know that doesn't matter what kind of portfolio you have, in Shamayim, none of it is worth anything. The only portfolio that actually matters, that exists in Shamayim, is how many neshamot did you help actually get closer to Hashem. That's the only portfolio that exists. So if a person took this advice of not mine, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is the Baal Mishnah. Our entire oral Torah would not exist if it wasn't for Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Before the Gemara came, it was the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi wrote down the Mishnah, and when he saw the Ruach HaKodesh that his Talmid, his nephew, Rabbi Chia, who died before him, was already in Shamayim, but he was the only one that was allowed to go from one world to the other without any malachim taking him there. Like if you're a tzaddik, you can go visit Moshe Rabbeinu, you go visit Aaron HaKohen, you go visit some tzaddikim. You're friends with Rabbi Akiva, you go visit him. No problem. But you have to have malachim. Malachim have to take you, sir. Hold on 1 second. We're going to see if there's an availability for you. We'll see. Rabbi Chia has no malachim. Why? He runs the place. He can go wherever he wants. No malachim. No one can tell him what to do. Why? He did Kiruv. He helped people do teshuvah. And it says in the Gemara how he did it, how he mamash sacrificed his life. He went and he planted some seeds so he could make the net from nothing. Then he took the net and he caught the deer, and he slaughtered the deer in a kosher way, and then he took the skin and wrote a Sefer Torah on it. Then he did it again, wrote the Mishnayot on it, and the whole thing tells you the whole process of what he did just to, what? Go give it to people that don't have Torah. Don't have nothing. He's not going to give it to the kollel and the yeshivot that already exist. No, he's going to give it to people, the amcha, regular people, regular average Joes. One group, he gave them the chumash. One guy gave him the Bereshit, the other one Shmot, and so on and so forth. Then the next group, he gave him the Mishnayot. Each one got a Mishnah. Once one group finished, one guy finished Bereshit, he taught the other guy Shmot, and Shmot Bereshit, and so on and so forth. Once one group finished, they taught each other. The Mishnah taught the Chumash. And that's how he did Kiruv. And he literally he became a partner in the creation of more Jews in the world. Why? Because a Jew without Torah is not a Jew. A Jew without Torah is not a Jew. He's a half a Jew. He's a Jew that's missing in action. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah in order for us to fulfill it. Not for us to just say, we got the Torah 3,000 years ago, my grandfather. So it's very, very important for a person to know that when Rabbi Yehuda Nasi saw Beruach HaKodesh that Rabbi Chia has all types of merits that no one else in the world has. He could do whatever he wants in Olam Haba. He has pretty much run the show. Rabbi HaKadosh started crying hysterical. He says, look at what a person can do by saving a neshama. Rabbi HaKadosh got so excited about it that he left everything, he closed the book, and he started running in the street looking for secular people, to help somebody do teshuvah. Well, he says, even though I wrote the Mishnah, even though I help a lot of people learn Torah, even though I do a lot of things, I didn't really focus on helping people do teshuvah, meaning someone that's not keeping Shabbat to start keeping Shabbat, someone that doesn't have real emunah to now have real emunah, someone that's in business but it's not a kosher business, now he's going to have a kosher business. I didn't have that. So Rabbi HaKadosh, that his generation, his entire generation says if Mashiach came, it would be him. The whole generation said if the Mashiach would have come at the generation of Rabbi HaKadosh, which is Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, almost 2,000 years ago, it would definitely be him. He was from the descendants of David Amalek, he was the descendants of Rabban Gamliel, he was very, very righteous, and so on and so forth. He stopped everything, closed the book, and go start doing Kiruv. Something that a person can do for almost free today. Really free. But nonetheless, people don't appreciate it enough to really dedicate enough time to it. But the ones that do, they may not see the blessing in their life right away. They may even see sometimes the opposite, where they see that there's some resistance. They see some problems in their life. But nonetheless, if you are patient, you will see much, much blessings in your life, because this is one of the things my Rav told me. This is one of those things that you get paid for in this world. So different people can do Kiruv in different ways. Some people can give out some flyers. Some people can give out CDs. Some people can give shiurim. Some people can sponsor a shiur, donate money, donate their time, donate their skill. All types of ways to help Kiruv, because the reality is everyone wants to invest a lot of money to build themselves a portfolio in this world, to have a certain amount of houses and a certain amount of cars and a certain amount of stocks and a certain amount of bonds, but very few people are wise enough to make sure they have a certain amount of neshamot that are reserved for them in Shamayim that could potentially be the major reasons of why they even get into Gan Eden in the first place. Because as the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot says, Kol ha-mezakeh et harabim en chet ba'al yado. Anyone that helps people do teshuvah, benefits the public, sin doesn't come his way. So the Chachamim say, this has several commentaries on it. One commentary is that Hashem gives him special protection against big sins. Special strength against big sins. If he had a major desire to do certain big sins, Hashem will give him special protection for it. Of course, he has to overcome it in the beginning to even have merit to do Kiruv. But nonetheless, once he's already in, Hashem will give them special protection. But the second thing the Chachamim say is that there's also a very special benefit. What's the benefit? Is that Hashem is going to do everything possible to make sure that this person goes to heaven. Why? It's not right that all of his Talmidim, all of the people that got the flyer and ended up doing teshuvah, all the people that watched the lecture and ended up doing teshuvah, they're all going to go to heaven, but their rabbi, the guy that gave him the flyer, he's going to be in Gehenom. They're all going to be sad. So Hashem says, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure this guy stays out of trouble so he can go to heaven too, so the Talmidim don't complain. Why? What kind of heaven are you going to have if your rabbi is in Gehenom? That's a horrible heaven. And, well, don't worry. If you guys are asking about Manis Friedman, don't worry. His Talmidim also going to be in Gehenom with him. He said it himself in the lecture. He says, why do we want to go to Gehenom? He says, so we can see all our friends. So he's already preparing. He's already preparing. Shtabach Shimo. He's already preparing. He didn't even realize what he said himself. He didn't even realize what he said himself. Mamash. Vayiftach Hashem et pia aton. Hashem opened the mouth of the donkey. He didn't even know what he said. He says, well, he made a joke out of it. Why do we want to go to Gehenom? Why do people go to Gehenom? To see their friends. He didn't realize he's talking about himself. He didn't realize. Baruch Hashem. Listen, you have to make fun of things that are making fun of the Torah. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to do it. It's in the Torah. People ask me, how come you always make fun of Christianity or different people? I said, if they're wicked, it's a mitzvah to make fun of them. Mitzvah. Why? It's avodah zarah. These things are avodah zarah. Gemara Masechet Megillah says, Ezehu Yehudi, who is a Jew? Who is a Jew? Says Batya. Batya Bat Paro is a Jew. Mordechai is a Jew. Says, why it makes them a Jew? Says, because they make fun of avodah zarah. You make fun of avodah zarah, you're a Jew. That's a Jew. So now with that being said, we're going to learn a little bit about Purim. What is the significance of Purim? I mean, we've talked about the Megillah in the past. I'm not necessarily going to go over the entire Megillah yet. Maybe we'll do that another time. But there's a few things that I learned with Rabbi Ephraim, Baruch Hashem, that I think we can learn a lot from it and apply already to our life today. We don't have to wait for Purim. Now, many times you see that the Jewish people unite during problems. During problems, chas v'shalom, if there was a Holocaust, after the Holocaust, no one cared if you're Sephardi or Ashkenazi. No one asked you, you're Sephardi, Ashkenazi. No one asked you. Today, Baruch Hashem, people ask you 500 times. You go to the shul, if you're Sephardi, they're going to ask you why are you here? Like they did to me. They treat me like half a terrorist, maybe full terrorist, not so sure. But I go sometimes to the Ashkenazi shul, they ask me, why are you here? Why? Because I look like to them, sometimes I look like Osama bin Laden. But what? But sometimes Ashkenazi guy comes there and we're asking him, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you here? Why are you in the Sephardi shul? Why are you in the Sephardi shul? What, they shut down the Ashkenazi shul? You're spying? What's going on? This is sinat chinam. This is baseless hatred. It's complete nonsense. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't end with just the Ashkenazim and the Sfaradim. It's also with the black Jews. It's also with the Spanish Jews. It's also with the Yemenite Jews, with the Ethiopian Jews, with the converts, with the Baal Tshuvas. The Sinat Chinam is everywhere. Everywhere. I was talking to a couple of guys over the weekend and before it, a couple of black Jews that are having some trouble because of racism. And we'll discuss that and elaborate on that point. And I had a nice chidush that's emet that we'll discuss about it, but of how to address it properly. But nonetheless, racism nonetheless is alive and well. It's not going away. It's not going away anytime soon. Only solution is teshuvah. But we'll go into the details of what that means. Now, after the Holocaust, though, there was no racism as far as the religious Jews. Not talking about the non-religious Jews. The Zionists still hated everybody that didn't look like them. They still tested, all types of medicine on the Yemenite Jews because they didn't look like them and killed a bunch of them. They still did a bunch of things to the Sephardi Jews that HaShem Yachem. We don't even want to get into because it'll just depress us. You look at this book, for example, called 51 Documents. 51 Documents, I mean, it's a little heavy read. I wouldn't recommend reading it in one reading because you'll probably go into a coma. But these are different letters that the Zionists, Imach Shimam Vezichram, wrote before and after the Holocaust. And it's a horrific, horrific testimony. They wrote it themselves. It's not like somebody's writing about them. This is their letters. You see these stories, you just want to cry that these people are actually Jewish. And this is what they did. One of the famous stories, for example, is a story that, where is it here? It's, this is discussed in several different places, but there is a report of the Budapest Jewish Rescue Committee by Dr. Rezo Kastner. That was discussing different things that happened or opportunities they had to save Jews. In his paper here, he also includes different things, his own comments, but over here he says that at some point, the SS captain Wisniewski, I think I'm destroying that name, but Bezat Hashem is destroying his neshama right now still, because he's a Nazi, Imach Shimo V'zichro. This Captain Wisniewski declared that after the deportation of 55,000 Jews, he's willing to forego the deportation of the remaining 25,000 Jews. This was in Hungary. He's willing to do it for a payment of how much? 25,000 Jews. How much are you going to pay for 25,000 Jews? How much are you going to pay for 25,000 Jews right now? How much money have we spent on Holocaust centers? How much have we spent annually as a people on building memorials, on museums about the Holocaust? Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars are donated annually for the sake of remembering the 6 million that died. How much could you have saved? 25,000. 25,000. Forget, not the whole 6 million. 25,000. I'm just telling you the beginning. I'm not telling you the whole thing. We're going to get to a million in a second. How much could you have saved from this captain, Imach Shimo, this Nazi? He was willing to sell you 25,000 Jews. How much are you going to pay? $1 million. How much are you going to pay? More than $1 million. How much are you going to pay? Give me a price.
There's no price.
Give me a price.
There's no price.
What no price? You're not going to pay nothing? You're going to let them die? I want a price. How much is the price? How much are you going to pay? HaShem Yilachem, give me a price, throw a number. No price. They're all going to die because of you. Okay, no. Next. Your bar mitzvah money. How much is that? $1,000. That's all you're going to pay for 55,000 Jews? For 25,000 Jews? No, if you had more money, all the money in the world, forget about money. You guys cannot imagine. You guys would never have children? Shem Yachem. Okay, ladies in the back, you guys are retarded. No, ladies in the back. How much you going to pay in the back? If I could save 25,000 Jews. How much can you pay? Give me a price. How much do you think the Nazi wants?
Whatever they want.
Whatever you want. Okay, the one guy is normal. No, and the rest of you guys. How about this?
You take your soul.
$50,000. $2 a body. A live one. $2 for a Jew. $2. That's all he wanted. $2 to save a neshama. Guess what? He didn't get it. You know what he got? He got $6,000. 3,000 shoes. Now he continues and he says, Hashem Yirachem, there was an opportunity for a mission led by an individual named Yoel Brand. Yoel Brand is a very famous story of how he negotiated the rescue campaign of 1 million Jews. Now I met with a Holocaust survivor last week. He told me a little bit about the Holocaust, Hashem Yishmor V'Yatzil. And I can tell you, Rabotai, that when he was 10 years old, if somebody would have told him, we could have saved your life, took you out of the Holocaust for $2, he'd start crying even more than the actual disaster. Yoel Brand had an opportunity after negotiating with the Nazis. All they wanted is trucks. They needed some trucks, some ammunition. 10,000 trucks. 10,000 trucks they wanted in replacement for 1 million Jews. That's 100 human lives for one truck. Truck, what does it cost? $20,000, $30,000 for 100 people. The deal was almost done. But when the Zionists, Yimach Shimam V'Zichram, found out these types of Jews, it's not the kind of Jews we want. Why? First of all, we want them to look like us. Second of all, they're already damaged, they're injured, deformed, traumatized. And last but not least, if that's not enough, one of them writes in this letter, you're going to see a few letters like this, and if you actually get this book and cry, says, we really need more people to die. Why? That's going to get more mercy from the rest of the world so we can get Eretz Yisrael. So when Yoel Brand negotiated the deal, almost finalized the deal, they sabotaged him and threw him in jail. In one of the Arab countries, I think it was either Lebanon or Egypt, one of these Arab countries, threw him in jail. The deal was supposed to be finalized in one of these countries to give him the money, they'll do the whole exchange. The Zionists sabotaged him, threw him in jail. And after the Holocaust, he exposed everyone, but most of you guys never heard of the story. They don't teach this in Israel. They don't teach this in school in America. What do they teach you? Be a Zionist. World Zionist Organization is having elections. No one knows what a Zionist really is. They think that means you're pro-Israel. No. When you're a Zionist, you're anti-Torah first. Now, does that mean you have to hate Israel? Chas v'shalom. We love Israel. But it has nothing to do with Zionism. It has nothing to do with Zionism. If you understood who the Zionists are, you'd understand why you're obligated to hate them as a Jew. Obligated to hate them. They're not different than the Nazis. They had an opportunity to save 1 million neshamot. There's letters, countless letters, 51 documents here, testifying it. They could have saved millions of people if they wanted. But they didn't. Why? Didn't serve their interest. Could have bought a Jew for $2. Rabotai Yekarim, why did I tell you this? Why are we starting off like this? Few reasons. Number one, after the Holocaust, and everyone understood the magnitude of the disaster that happened to us, religious Jews didn't care whether you're Ashkenazi, Sfaradi. The nation as a whole didn't care. The Holocaust survivors themselves didn't care if you're Sfaradi or Ashkenazi. They didn't care. Why? You survived. You're just like me. We're the same. In the Holocaust, they didn't ask you if you're Sfaradi, Ashkenazi. Because our fight was a fight against Amalek. Our fight united us. Our survival united us. And that's actually one of the things that is supposed to be the mitzvot of Purim. In Purim, one of the mitzvot you're supposed to do is read Parashat Zachor. Parashat Zachor is not an actual parasha in the Torah, but rather it's the last section of Parashat Ki Titzeh. This section of the parasha is just a couple of sentences that you're supposed to say. It's an obligation for all Jews to say this at that time, which is a reminder of Amalek. Who is Amalek? Amalek is Haman. Amalek is Hitler. Amalek is the Zionists. Amalek is anyone that's been fighting against HaShem, against the Torah. Jew or non-Jew. Doesn't make a difference what his mother is. That's Amalek. And Parashat Zachor says, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, b'derech b'tzedchem mimitzrayim. אשר קרחה בדרך ויזנב בך כל הנכשלים אחריך ואתה עייף ויגע ולא ירא אלוהים. והיה בהניח אדוני אלוהיך לך מכל אויביך מסביב בארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך נחלה לרשתה תמחה את זכר עמלק מתחת השמיים לא תשכח. So Hashem says to us twice to remember. He says, remember what Amalek did to you on the way, meaning when you were leaving Egypt, that he happened upon you on the way, meaning he surprised you. And he struck those of you who were hindmost, meaning the weaklings that you had. When you were faint and exhausted, and he did not fear Hashem. It shall be that when Hashem your God gives you rest from all your enemies, all around, in the land that Hashem your God gives you as an inheritance to possess it, you shall wipe out the memory of Amalek from under the heaven. You shall not forget. So twice he tells us don't forget, the beginning and the end, and he also tells us that some of Amalek is going to be outside, some of Amalek is going to be inside our house. Don't think that Amalek is just the Nazis. Sometimes you could be related to an Amalek. How could you be related to Amalek if you're a Shomer Torah mitzvot? You got Jewish blood, either by conversion or by being born into it. How could you be related to an Amalek? Now, if you're a convert, you could say, yeah, like one of my students tells me that his father's a Nazi. More than one of my students tells me that their parents or their siblings are Nazis. They hate Jews. Okay, so that's an Amalek. That's an easy example. But how could a natural-born Jew be related to an Amalek? Go ahead.
Is there also like a spiritual Amalek?
You're asking me a question with a question. That's a typical Jewish thing to do.
Spiritual Amalek.
Amalek, Rabotai, is not just the seed, like he's saying. It's also something that a person can make themselves into. What is it? You look at the place over there where it says, that remember Amalek, what Amalek did to you, and that he happened upon you. Asher karcha baderech. So Rashi on the makom, on the place over there says, what does it mean? Asher karcha baderech. It says karcha comes from lashon keri, from the word keri. Keri means the wasting seed. Keri means something that has to do with immorality. He says Amalek were homosexuals. Amalek raped the Jews. Someone that's openly a homosexual goes to these gay parades, 100% Amalek, Rashi says. This so-called rabbi that did a wedding, to do an Orthodox wedding, open Orthodox, but Orthodox he calls it, did a wedding to two homosexual males last week. 100% wedding of Amalek. Last week. It was all over the news. Oh, the first Orthodox wedding. It's not Orthodox. It's open Orthodox, which is another name for Reform, but they like to pretend they're Orthodox. So it says first Orthodox wedding for two gay males. Why? They love each other. Rashi says 100% Amalek. 100% Amalek. Why? These are people like the women of the wall like these open homosexuals, like these Shmuli Boteach that supports the homosexuals, like Manis Friedman that says that homosexuality is not a toeva, even though the Torah says it 50 times. Anyone that minimizes what the Torah says, anyone that contradicts it, anyone that does it on purpose, I'm not talking about an accident, on purpose and lives openly against it, dafka, very good chance they're Amalek. Very good chance they're Amalek. Now, this is, Rabotai, one of the things that a Jew needs to know first when it comes to Purim. Why? Because it was Amalek that tried to destroy us, not anybody else. It wasn't the black people. It wasn't the Spanish people. It wasn't the Russian people. It wasn't the American people. It wasn't the tall people, the short people, the men or the women. It was Amalek. That's who tried to destroy us. And that is the fight that we've been fighting since day one. Since the time we left Egypt, we've been fighting Amalek. A person needs to know that even if you are related to an Amalek, when the Mashiach comes, they're not going to survive. And you may get the job to kill them, maybe. You have no permission to do that now, Chas v'Shalom. But the point is, Rabotai, why am I telling you that? You have an obligation right now to try to save them. Get them out of there. They don't know what they're doing things that Amalek did. Try to help them. Give them a movie card. Give them a CD. Give them something. Tell them, listen, Habibi, I love you, but you're acting like Amalek. Mashiach comes right now, he's going to kill you. Well, how's he going to kill me? He's going to look at you and you're going to die. Show me a verse. Prophet Isaiah, chapter 11, verse number 4. Uberuach sfatav yamit rasha. The Mashiach is going to come, and from the breath that comes out of his mouth will destroy the wicked. So all of those people that say, oh yeah, there's a bunch of rabbis that are talking to the Mashiach right now and all that stuff, I don't know what's true, what's not true, but one testimony. If I met the Mashiach, first thing I say, kill me a rasha for a second, let me see. I want to see. Oh, no, don't tell me nothing. A lot of people know Torah. I want to kill a rasha right now. Hey, I'll give you a list of them. I want to see you kill them. That's the test. I want to see you kill them with a word. Like what's what it says? It says you're going to be able to kill a shayin with your mouth. You're going to say a word, they're going to die, right? Okay, no chabud. Not trying to make fun of it. You know, people every day, someone else is the Mashiach. Every day, someone else is the Mashiach. Enough with this. If he's here, yalla, digalotam, yalla, let's go. Stop delaying. If you're Mashiach, let's go. What are you waiting for? If you're not Mashiach, no, leave us alone already with all this shtuyot. One day it's Chabad is the Mashiach, the other way is Breslov is the Mashiach, another time it's a woman that's the Mashiach, another time it's a male Mashiach. Sometimes people think I'm the Mashiach, even if I tell them I'm not the Mashiach, they insist I'm the Mashiach. All types of nonsense that's in jukim. You know what jukim is? Bugs, cockroaches are in people's head. I promise you, if I was Mashiach, I tell you right now, I'd start killing people left and right just by words. I talk a lot. People will just simply die, but it's by me talking. They say, the Midrash says that Kadosh Baruch Hu gave, out of the 10 levels of speaking, 9 of them he gave to women. 9 of them he gave to women. My wife says, I think maybe you got a little of that. I think you got a little of that, honey. Oh, you're not a woman, but I think you got a little bit of I think you stole a little bit from some of the women. Don't want to talk much, they give it to you. Baruch Hashem. But at least we talk about good things. The point is, Rabotai, if you have a relative that's acting like Amalek, don't just sit there quietly. Try to help them. Why? Because you still have a chance. You still have a chance to help them right now. If they're acting out their sins openly, they're going against the Torah openly, please do them a favor. Help them get out of this tum'ah. Because if the Mashiach does arrive tomorrow or the next day or a year from now or 10 years from now, whenever it is, there's not going to be another chance. Why? Because we have verses in the Torah that says we have to destroy Amalek. Even if Amalek is in our house. And that's why the verse says that HaShem is going to destroy Amalek even if it's in the land that we got as an inheritance, even if it's in your house. Now, the interesting thing is that sometimes people can give power to Amalek. Rashi says in the same place, Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek, remember what Amalek did to you. Remember other character traits that Amalek had. And one of the things that Amalek had was dishonesty. He had no fear of HaShem. And Rashi says there's a reason why this parashat Zachor that talks about destroying Amalek, these few verses have absolutely nothing to do, or we think, with what's written before it. What's written before it? You would think we just went to war, we just left Egypt, a bunch of other stuff, right? No. If you look at Parashat Ki Titzeh, what's written before it? The laws of business. The laws of business. Equal weights, honest weights. If you, for example, you're selling vegetables, you're selling gold, you're selling all types of things, you have to use weights. You have to use weights. So, for example, a guy wants to buy, 100 pounds of, or 100 ounces, let's say, 100 ounces of gold from you. You put it on one side, and to make sure that the scale is honest, you have to have a certain weight that says this is legitimate. So Rashi says, look, it's not a happenstance, a coincidence that the laws of honest business are right before destroying Amalek. Why did Hashem put it there? He put it there because when we do dishonest business, we are giving power to Amalek. We're not being Amalek, but we're giving them power. So you're not in the Nazi army, but you're selling them weapons. Now, if you had a best friend, and your best friend, you guys were boys, you guys were girls, you guys had a good time for years, but then he told you, by the way, I never told you what I do for a living. Well, what do? Oh, I sell weapons. Okay, you sell it to the Americans, to our allies? No, not to the Americans. You sell it to Israel or our home country? No. Who you sell it to? I sell it to Iran. You stay friends with this guy? Yeah, I just did a big deal with him. I want to give Maaseh to Rabbi Reuven. For what? I sold the atomic bomb to Iran. You still going to stay friends with this guy? No, what are you going to do? You're going to kill the guy. Why? You just sold weapons to our enemies. If you have a friend or a relative that you know for sure is doing dishonest business, like for example, this cash advance business we've talked about a couple of times, or any other business, you know for sure they're doing dishonest business, show them this. Why? They should know they are giving power to Amalek. Because what do the anti-Semites use as an excuse for their hatred? They don't really have a legitimate reason to hate Jews. What do they use as the excuse? Business. Either because the Jews control a lot of money or have a lot of power, or worse yet, Jews are dishonest. Before Nazi Germany, I told you guys this in the past, one of the excuses the Nazis used is because the Jews lent a lot of money to the Nazis, to the Germans, and other Europeans, with very high interest to the point where they destroyed the economy. Now this unfortunately wasn't the first time. It also happened in England in the 1100s, almost 900 years ago. The Jews were in control of a lot of money. They were lending money to the people. But they were able to conduct business because the king, or the mayor actually I should say, gave them the freedom to do whatever they wanted. But one time, the mayor went away. And it's a very famous story. When he went away, the people, the non-Jewish people revolted, started killing Jews in the streets. I think it was 1186 was the year. Very famous massacre of Jews. Why? They destroyed businesses because of the usury, the high interest business and unethical business. If you have a friend that's a Jew, or non-Jew, but nonetheless, especially if it's a Jew, that's taking advantage of people by either lending them money with high interest that's unfair or is unethical in anything that they're doing, you have to tell them, you are a partner to the crime of Amalek. How so? Every time you do a dishonest deal, that gives power to Amalek. That gives power to Amalek, Rabotai. Now, some people are going to say, your rabbi's a fanatic. I'm just doing business here. It's legal according to America. It's legal according to Israel. It's legal according to whatever country you're in. So if the country says it's legal, it must be okay. Just because something is legal doesn't mean it's right. There are many things that are legal, but we all know are wrong. For example, if I give you guys a cute little baby, cute, mamash, like one of those cute ones, not the ones that look good, like a cute one, a really, really cute one, and I told you, listen, how about this? I'm going to pay you $3,000, $4,000. You know what? I like you. $5,000. $5,000. Take this baby and just chop his head off. How many of you guys take the job? How about this? I'll pay you $8,000. $8,000. Chop his head off, but right after you chop the legs off first. No, you don't take his yet. Okay, how about this? We'll make a big deal. I'll make you a partner. I'll give you the baby. You chop off the head, the arms, the legs, the stomach, and then we're going to sell it to different types of stem cell companies for $100,000, $150,000. How about that? You're in business with me or no? Well, guess what? That's what they do at Planned Parenthood. The abortion clinic. The abortion clinic cuts up the babies, whether it's 3-month pregnancy or 8-month pregnancy. They take the baby, they chop it up into little pieces. Usually they start off with the legs, meaning that the baby's suffering the whole time. He's alive and well. And then if that's not enough, they go and sell the body. Now, how come you guys are disgusted, and yet there's almost 1 million abortions in America every year? How come? How come the government funds this? The government funds this. Hundreds of millions of dollars are given by the U.S. government, but the same thing happens in Israel. Don't think it's just America. Government funded abortions. How come it happens all over the world almost? Almost every country it's legal for them to have abortions. How come it's not allowed? How come it sounded demented to you guys, which rightly so, for you guys to cut up a baby and kill him, but it's not right? How come it's right for them to do while the baby's still in the stomach? Why? Because you can't see it? So I can't see your brain. Does that mean you don't have a brain? You can't see my brain. Does that mean I don't have a brain? You can't see my neshama. Does that mean I don't have a neshama? You can't see the radio waves. Does that mean you can't use a phone? The nonsense that people say, oh no, if it's legal, it's allowed. Nonsense. If it's in the Torah, it's allowed. If it's not in the Torah, it's not allowed. Meaning, only the Torah, the instructional manual from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, can tell you what's good and what's bad. The law of the land is not always going to be very good at that. Especially if they're killing babies just because they came at an inconvenient time. You knew how to play mommy and daddy for one day. But you didn't want to do the rest for the rest of your life. It was inconvenient, so you wanted to perform murder. Rabotai Karim, just because something is legal in the land does not mean it's right. Don't fool yourself. Just because cash advance, this rotten, horrible business that's destroying the American economy and other economies, is legal doesn't mean that our brothers and sisters and even fellow non-Jews are allowed to do it. Same thing with other businesses that are unethical. Now, anyone that's going to tell you, listen, your rabbi's fanatic, he's just crazy. Okay. Why did we have a miracle of Purim? Why do we have a miracle? We had Purim. Everyone knows the whole basic story, 1-minute synopsis of the whole story. We were doing okay. We decided to go to a festive meal at the king Achashverosh that was making fun of the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, which is stupid to begin with to go there. We didn't listen to the Gdol Ador, Mordechai Yehudi, that told us not to go. We went to the festive meal because we figured maybe we'll do some business there with the king. He's got a lot of money after all. Maybe he'll buy some stuff from us. So went to the festive meal. HaShem didn't like it so much. So he gave the power to Haman, the Amalek, to put a decree that in one day he's going to kill all the Jews in the world. One day. Not like Hitler over a period of years, one day. And Hashem miraculously accepted our teshuvah after we fasted for 3 days and said, I'm sorry 1,000,000 times to Hashem that we did something that was against him, and miraculously turned Amalek, instead of being the perpetrator, into the one that we destroyed, Baruch Hashem. The tree that was supposed to use to hang Mordechai Yehudi, the biggest rabbi in the world, was used to hang Haman himself and his kids. Miracle. Now, this whole miracle, why did it happen? Did it happen because of the Reformed Jews? For sure it didn't. Why? If there was Reformed Jews, they'd be on Haman's side. If there was Reformed Jews, they would be with Haman. Tell them, listen, let's go pray at the wall, all the girls. Let's do homosexual parties. Let's do, let's hang out and do all types of filthy things like Amalek does. So Reformed Jews definitely didn't do it. Was it secular Jews? Was it secular Jews that brought us the miracle? It was secular Jews that didn't exactly do so much, that Hashem didn't like so much. That was part of the reason of why the whole thing happened in the first place. Was it like the half-religious Jews? The religious, he's religious on Shabbat. Like he goes to shul on Shabbat. But if you tell him Musar, he says, no, Rabbi, Musar is not for me. Rebuke is not for me. Was it for him? No, he's the one that got us into trouble in the first place. Why? He went to the business meeting at Achashverosh's house. Why did we get the miracle? We got the miracle because of some fanatic Jew called Mordechai. The fanatic Jew, Mordechai, is the reason why we got the miracle. The fanatic Jew, Esther, is why we got the miracle. The ones that were fighting for the emet from the beginning when everybody else was making fun of them. You're fanatic. Take it easy. It's different generation now. The whole holiday of Purim only exists because of the fanatic, but better said, the passionate Jews that fought for Hashem when it wasn't popular, when it wasn't well accepted by other fellow Jews, that were too enamored by business and the chukot hagoyim, the acts and laws of the non-Jews. So much so that we forgot about Judaism. Now, the truth is, Rabotai, that unfortunately right now, we have a situation where many of the Amaleks are being provoked in different ways by Jews. Part of it is because we're making that same mistake that we made a couple of thousand years ago at the time of Purim, where we think that because we are called the chosen people by God himself, therefore we can do whatever we want to anyone that's not part of the chosen. We could take advantage of them, we could fool them, we could cheat them, lie to them. There is no mistake greater than this. Eliyahu Navi, Zachur Letov, says in Tana Devei Eliyahu Rabbah, in the 9th parasha, and he says, with heaven and earth as my witnesses, I testify that whether it's a Jew or a Goy, man or a woman, male or a female, everything is judged based on their actions. And that's how the Ruach HaKodesh can be upon a person. Meaning that anyone, Jew or Gentile, can actually get Ruach HaKodesh if they act in holiness. But holiness based on the definition of God, the God of Israel, not holiness based on Yoshke or Buddha or some other Pikachu. We're talking about holiness based on HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. He says whether you're a Jew or a Gentile, male or female, if you're a servant or you're a master, don't make a difference. If you're a holy person, you can even acquire Ruach HaKodesh. Meaning, Rabotai Karim, that when it comes to Hashem, He's not looking at you in an unfavorable way just because you weren't born a Jew, or you were born a Jew, by default you're favorable. He's looking at you based on your actions. He's not looking at your color. He's not looking, oh, he's black, so I'm going to give him some favoritism. No, he's white, I'm going to give him some favoritism. No, he's tall, I'm going to give him some favoritism. Nobody gets favoritism. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care what color you are. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care what gender you are. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't care how tall or short you are, how rich or poor you are. He doesn't care about those things. He cares about your actions. If your actions are holy, you become holy. If your actions are not, the contrary. Now, when a person understands that anyone can acquire Ruach HaKodesh, which is virtually the highest level of spirituality a person can get to in this world other than prophecy itself, automatically he starts treating the world around him differently. And he starts taking the halacha into consideration of how to do business with non-Jews. Because we're surrounded by them. There's almost 8 billion of them in comparison to 15, 20 million of Jews. So nonetheless, you're going to end up dealing with non-Jews, which is not a problem as long as you're not a problem. Now, the Yam Shel Shlomo, which is Rabbi Shlomo ben Yechiel Luria, about 500 years ago, he was one of the Gdolei Ador in a generation where there are some extraordinary stories about him, where there was one time a Avrech who married a woman and swore to her that since she is his first love, he's always going to be with her. But as HaShem would have it, one day this woman became very sick, his wife became very sick, and she made him promise to her, make a neder that he won't remarry. He won't marry anyone else after she dies. And the husband foolishly said yes. But of course he didn't understand what he's getting himself into. Now, she died, and he found himself as a single father with 3 kids, having a very, very big difficulty doing it himself. And he came to the Gdol Ador, Rabbi Shlomo Luria, and asked him if he could get an heter. If he can get an heter, a leniency from the Gdol Ador, to nullify this neder. Rabbi Shlomo Luria said, your neder is void. I don't even need to nullify it. It's void. It's not a valid neder. Why? You're not allowed to make such a neder because you are obligated to have a boy and a girl. You had 3 boys with your first wife, which means you did not fulfill the full mitzvah. You have to marry again. Plus it says in the Torah that it's not good for a man to be by himself, meaning you have to marry another woman. You have to at least try. So the neder that you made, the swear that you made, the vow that you made to your wife that passed away is not a valid neder. You can go ahead and remarry. Now this Avrech found a woman, and after a short period of time, they decided they're going to get married. On the day of their wedding, suddenly the Avrech, the guy that's about to get married, passed out and died. The whole community is an uproar. We see, that's what happens because he made a neder to his wife, and I'm sure his wife probably was really upset about it in heaven, and she caused him to die. So it's really Rabbi Shlomo Luria's fault. So this word came to the Rav. He said to them, please make sure that when you're going to bury the body, bring it back to my house first. Past, where you're carrying the body. In those days, the whole community would be involved. They would carry the body, and they would walk it all the way to the cemetery. He says, pass by my house first. Stop by my house. with the body. So now they pass by his house. Rav Luria comes outside, takes the talit off of his face, looks at the face, mumbles a few prayers, and puts a note inside the talit, right next to the body. He says, bury him like this, but don't put the sand on top of him. Leave the thing open. Leave him out there like that. Put him in the hole, but don't cover it. Okay, the rabbi says, the rabbi, we do. They took him, went to the Chevra Kadisha, took him, put him in the hole. Everybody cried, and everyone left, but they didn't cover the hole, which is the last step you're supposed to do. The next morning, everyone sees the Avrech walking in town. The guy that died the day before. They see him walking in town. What are you doing? He's not. People are Tchiyat HaMetim, resurrection of the dead, resurrection of the dead. The guy says, no resurrection of the dead. It's just that I went up to Shamayim. They said, yeah, it's your time. I said, yeah, well, you're not allowed to come here though. What do you mean? But you said it's my time. Because it was your time. But Rav Luria wrote a letter to us. He put it on you. And he said, listen, whether it's his time or it's not his time, what you're doing right now is going to cause a Chilul Hashem. Why? They're going to think it's something that has to do with this neder. Not allowed to take him. Rav Luria doesn't agree with the Bet Din of Shamayim. We have to go with Rav Luria. So you have to go back and live for a bunch more years. Now, the poor guy, everybody was scared of him now. The guy just dead, now he's alive. Okay, it's a big miracle, but people are scared to marry him. The girl doesn't want to marry him now. This guy's, I don't know, he's a zombie or something. Hashem Yachem. So the guy was having a major difficulty. So Rav Luria saw this. It's a real story. And I'll tell you how they found the story. So Rav Luria saw this, that's causing a big commotion. So he did a special Kabbalistic prayer or some type of act that made everyone forget. The whole town forgot what happened. So how do we know the story 500 years later? Chevra Kadisha. Chevra Kadisha, when they get a body, they write down who it is, his name, date of death, how he died, all the details. They write it down. So they have, when the guy finally died years later, it's like, wait a minute, this guy's already here. And at that time, they say, oh, the Rav was Rav Luria. They looked into the books of Rav Luria, his personal journal, told about the whole act of everything that happened, that he made everybody forget, and that's how they publicized the story. Chevra Kadisha. Chevra Kadisha. So now, if Rav Luria says something, do you listen to him or no? So this is what he says. This is what he says. Rav Luria, alav shalom. Rav Luria, in his Sefer, the Sefer that he wrote this, by the way, this whole story is Yam Shel Shlomo. This is the Sefer I'm talking about right now. So this is actually in his personal writings. In his personal writings, that's when he wrote this. But in his Sefer Yam Shel Shlomo, in Perek 10, the 10th Perek, commentary on the Gemara Bava Kama, in Siman 18, he says the following: one could benefit from the mathematical error that leads to a financial benefit of a non-Jew, but only if you're not causing the error. So, this is a clarity on the issue where there is an halacha that says if a non-Jew, if a Jew loses something or makes a mistake, you have to give him back his money. You cannot take advantage of another Jew. But some people think that if a non-Jew makes a mistake, I'm by default allowed to take the money. Wrong. Wrong. Rav Luria clarifies one part of it. He says, if the non-Jew makes a mistake, let's say, for example, he gives you change. You did a deal with him, he gives you a bunch of change. Instead of giving you, let's say, dollar bills, he gives you 20 $100 bills. Instead of $20, he gave you 2,000. So Rav Luria says, first and foremost, no. If you're the one that caused him to make the mistake by confusing him, by telling him, no, use this one, and you know he's making a mistake, forbidden 100%. It's 100% stealing. You're not allowed to cause the non-Jew to make the error. Because he is, especially if he works for you, he's under you, it's forbidden. Even if the goy is never going to know about it. But in fact, even further, if you see him counting the change, and he gave you $2,000 instead of $20, doesn't have to necessarily be that much, I'm just giving you examples. And you know it's a mistake. And you didn't cause him to make that mistake. He did it on his own. You're still not allowed to take the money until you tell him, listen, you should double check. Or I'm just relying on what you did. Meaning you're giving him the warning signs to double check his work to make sure that this is okay. Like you have to give him warning signs. You have to make sure to be honest with the guy. And not just say, oh no, he made a mistake, it's his problem. Why? Because if the non-Jew makes a mistake and the Jew takes advantage of it, it not only looks bad for business, it now also looks bad for Judaism, even if you're not a religious Jew. Because the non-Jews don't look at religious Jews or non-religious Jews differently. They look at everybody as Jews. Like today, the thing they had in Belgium, the anti-Semitic parade they had in Belgium today, with all types of caricatures making fun of Jews, they didn't really care if the Jew is a religious Jew or a non-religious Jew. Some of the costumes were costumes of religious Jews with big noses and big ears and big things, making fun of Jews. Some of them were just making fun of Jews without it. It didn't make a difference to them. They hate everybody alike, whether they're religious or not religious. They were dressing up as Nazis regardless. Now, the Rambam in Ilchot Gzela, chapter 11, Halacha number 4, says that a mistake in accounts, meaning a monetary mistake that is made by a non-Jew, is considered like a lost item, and it's permissible to benefit from it, but this only applies if he makes the mistake by himself. Meaning the same thing that Rav Luria said 500 years ago, he was just quoting the Rambam from 900 years ago. It wasn't really a chidush by Rav Luria, but in essence you see how the Chachamim continue working off of each other. They're not bringing new Torah to the world. Now it's forbidden to cause a Gentile to make a mistake. Further he elaborates, he says that a Gentile's error means that you have to tell him, I'm relying on your account, the Rambam says. And if he still doesn't correct himself, then you could take it. Because then this guy's insisting on just losing money. But if you correct him, and he still insists, no, just take it. Then this guy is either, something's wrong with him. This guy just wants to give you a gift. But if you tell him over and over again, he still insists, now you have a serious issue. So what does this have to do with cash advance? When I spoke to a few people that were in a cash advance business, and I told them, listen, it's an unethical business. You're charging the average person that's in a desperate need for money for his business enormous interest that's 3, 4, 5, 10, 100, 200 times the industry average. Only because they can't get the loan from anyone else. If they were able to get their loan from a regular bank, from Chase Manhattan or JP Morgan or Wells Fargo or some normal bank and get a loan for 6, 7%, they'd never go to these thieves at the cash advance business. They never go to them. But they come into the cash advance business and they're signing off all types of documents that tell them, listen, you're going to pay 80% interest, 90% interest, 100% interest, 400% interest in some places. Some guy says, no, we only charge 40%, only 40%, as if it's allowed. I said, you're not allowed to do it. You are taking advantage of the people that are desperate. And then he responds to me, he goes, yeah, but they're choosing to sign on their own, and they're not even Jewish. If they were Jews, then okay, we're not even allowed to charge Jews interest at all. But he says, you're allowed to charge non-Jews interest. You're allowed to charge them. So they're signing the contract. I said, no, wrong. First of all, you assuming you're allowed to charge interest to non-Jews is already a mistake by itself. There's actually criteria of who you're allowed to and who you're not allowed to, and who is allowed to charge and who's not, which we'll get to in a second. But further than that, you know you're taking advantage of them. And just because they're signing the agreement and making the mistake doesn't mean it's allowed. Why? Because you are the one that's leading them astray. You are the one that's telling them, listen, I'm going to get you $100,000 in 24 hours. I'm going to get you $200,000, save your house, save your business, save everything in 3 days. You're going to get it, you're going to get it. You're enticing them to do this mistake, to make this mistake. That's not allowed by any standard. Jew, non-Jew, even a cow, you're not allowed to lend money that way. You are the one that's causing their error. It's not like they're just doing it on their own. Now, the Rambam in the commentary on the Mishnah, in Masechet Kelim, chapter 12, section 7, Mishnah number 7, says, stealing from non-Jews is number one, a transgression against Hashem's will. Hashem does not want you to steal from non-Jews. Know that. 2, reinforces undesirable character traits, meaning you're stealing from people, it's going to get you to start eventually steal from Jews. You're stealing from non-Jews, eventually you're going to steal from Jews too. You're charging non-Jews interest, eventually you're going to charge Jews interest. 3, you're going to end up leading to Chilul Hashem, desecration of Hashem's name. Especially, Rabbi Ephraim says, especially if you look like a religious Jew. You're going to lead to Chilul Hashem. So, we see here that there are many, many places. There's a show of probably 5 hours that I could tell you about this, but I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But you see here already that the picture is a little bit differently than what people tell. But one other thing that I wanted to mention is that there is a assumption that you are allowed to charge interest to non-Jews by default. The Rambam writes in Chod Gneva, and also in the Yerushalmi, Bava Metzia, there's a lot of different places that talk about this issue. But there's a few highlights here that says that the Torah doesn't view charging interest to anyone as a favorable thing. The Gemara in Masechet Makot, page 24a, quotes Tehillim 15, verse 5, where David HaMelech says that the Mashiach is going to save a certain type of people. Anyone that's sojourns in your meaning, who's going to be saved? Who's going to be in your holy mountain? Someone that's innocent, someone that does the right thing, someone that speaks the truth, and someone who does not lend his money with interest. Already, charging interest to people, Jews or non-Jews, David HaMelech says, you're wiped out of the Mashiach list. Or in fact, you're on the bad list. You're going to be one of the people who says, gun. A little bad, gun. That's it. Now, if that's not enough, you're like David HaMelech, you want someone else. Prophet Isaiah, chapter 33, verse 15, says the same exact thing. Says, one who walks with righteousness and speaks with fairness, he's talking about who's going to be saved by Mashiach, speaks with fairness, and who rejects with disgust extortionate profit. And Rashi on the place says, what is this extortionate profit? Interest, charging interest. Not enough. Prophet Micha, chapter 6, verse 8, says, he has told you, O man, what is good. What does Hashem require of you? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. So the Gemara says, what does it mean to do justice? This is the law governing human decency. which means laws that man would have deemed correct even without Torah. You don't need the Torah to tell you that you're not allowed to charge people 50, 60% interest, 40% interest, 100% interest. Or better yet, make them sign a document that pretty much gives them your whole life, called the Confession of Judgment, where they pretty much sign a document saying that if they're late to make a payment, automatically the lender takes all of their assets, takes possession of them without court, without going to court. Automatically, the guy signs an application like he's signing a form to go into school. He puts a signature on it. He lists his house, lists his bank account, whatever he's listing his business. The guy's late. We're not talking about defaults. He's late by 1 day. All of that property becomes the cash advance owner's property. He's now the new owner. You don't need the Torah to tell you that's not decency. Shlomo Amalek, Proverbs 28, verse 8, says one who increases his wealth by neshech or ribit is collecting it for the person who favors the poor. And Rashi says, what does it mean, someone who charges interest collecting it for the person who favors the poor? It says all the money that you made from that cash advance business, from charging people interest, all of that money God's going to take from you, and He's going to give it to somebody who likes to feed poor people and to help people. He's going to give all the money you're making, all you're doing is you're going to make money. Hashem's going to take all of it from you. You're going to be broke. And He's going to give it to somebody that helps people. Don't think for a second you're going to enjoy this money. Oh, but I'm enjoying it now. Okay, don't worry. Hashem is patient. Hashem is patient. He built Haman all the way to the top before he collapsed to nothing. Same thing with everybody else that he goes against. Now, who are we allowed to charge interest? Because according to Shlomo Amalek, according to the prophet Micha, according to Isaiah, according to David Amalek, according to pretty much the entire Torah here, interest already we're seeing it's not exactly viewed as a positive thing, whether it's a Jew or non-Jew. So what does the Gemara actually say is allowed? Gemara, Bava Metzia, page 70b, teaches what is ill-gotten gains. What are gains that are viewed in Shemaim as unkosher profit? Gemara explains this is to teach that even interest taken from an idolater is destined to the same negative fate, and therefore the court of King Shlomo instituted a rabbinical prohibition to charge Gentiles interest. Meaning, we're not talking about just non-Jews, we're talking about even Reshaim among the non-Jews. Even if it's an idol worshiper, Shlomo HaMelech says you're not even allowed to charge them interest. Why? It's not a good way to make money. It's not a kosher way to make money. So wait a minute, but all of these people, all of these places, banks, and other types of lending companies, they're charging interest, and they have some rabbi telling them it's allowed. So where did this permission come from? This is where it came from. I'll show you. So why is it permitted? So Rabbi Chia, the same Rabbi Chia that was the nephew of Rabbi Akadosh that I mentioned to you, Rabbi Chia bar Ravuna says it's only permitted out of necessity, where the Jew takes only as much interest as necessary for his livelihood, and only if he's a Talmid Chacham. What's necessity? He's a scholar. He learns Torah all day. He can't go doing business. Can't go doing business all day, trading this, that. So, but he needs to make a living. So he has some money. His father gave him some money. His mother gave him some money. His father-in-law, somebody gave him some money. But he needs to make a living. Okay, you lend that money, charge a little bit of interest, just enough for you to survive. Not to charge a lot more. Not to charge more. Just enough. You need $2,000 a month. That's how much you're allowed to make in interest. Once you've gotten to the point where you're making your $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, that's it. That's the ceiling. So anyone that's lending money with interest. What are they saying? They're saying not only that Talmid Chacham, but apparently they need $100,000, $200,000 a month to live. Because that's what they're charging people. But that you're not going to find in the Torah. You're not going to find that. So, Ravina says in the same Gemara that the lender has to be a Talmid Chacham. And Rashi says Talmidei Chachamim are permitted to charge interest from a Gentile, whereas the rest of the people are forbidden to do so. And Ravuna says that even the permitted must always lend money to a Jew for free before a Gentile for a profit. A poor before the rich, your family before your city before another city. So Ravuna elaborates, says, listen, even if you're a Talmid Chacham, you classify as that, and you have an opportunity to make money off of a Gentile, you're allowed to shake Shabbat. You're not allowed to lend them money if you have a Jew that needs the money first for interest free, for you not to make money. Meaning first you have to lend money to a Jew that needs it, if he's poor, if he's your family, and so on and so forth. First you have to lend, if there's no Jew that needs the money, and there's no family member that needs the money, and there's no poor guy that needs the money, then you can lend the money to the non-Jew and charge him a little bit of interest, just enough for you to survive. Which means that if people actually knew the halacha of lending money, no Jew would be in this business. It doesn't make any sense. There's plenty of other things you can do that make more money, if you're doing it kosher-wise. So, why is this forbidden for a regular person that's not a Talmid Chacham? So there's several different answers that the Gemara, Rashi, and also Rabbeinu Bechaye say. Gemara says that if a person lends, that doesn't know Allah the Torah, lends money to non-Jews, then that means he's going to associate with them on a regular basis, because all of his customers are going to be non-Jews. He's not going to have any Jewish customers. He's not making money off of them. And if he's constantly hanging out with non-Jews, little by little it's going to weaken his commitment to the Torah. This is not a problem with someone that's a Talmid Chacham that's learning Torah all day. Rashi says, if he starts lending non-Jews money and charging them interest, eventually he's going to get to the habit of charging interest, and eventually he's going to charge interest to Jewish people also. So, here we see, Rabotai Karim, that you have many, many details about this that are much more than what people think. And there's a lot more that we could discuss, but you get the point. Now, why am I telling you all of this? I'm telling you all of this because this is one of the Amaleks of this generation. It's this obsession with money to the extent where we forget about God. Hence the reason why you see certain industries that are unethical run by people that look like religious Jews. One of them being this cash advance business. When I first learned about the cash advance business, when I was still in the business days and on Wall Street, someone told me about it, and he told me that some guy opened an office up the street from us on Wall Street, and he's a bunch of new guys just joined the place within a few months. They're already making, $15,000, $20,000 a month, which is a lot of money for a short period of time. He explained to me what the business is. Within 30 seconds, I told him it's all fraud. It's all unethical. It's all wrong. I don't steal money. I'm not in the business of stealing. It's like, yeah, but you can make a lot of money. I said, I could also kill people. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it. Now, this was while I was still in the business days. Ethics is just, it's either you have it or you don't have it. But now that you know the laws of the Torah, where you see that even if the person doesn't know very much about everything else, already you have no permission to be in his business. Not for Jews, not for non-Jews. So how come there's so many religious Jews or people that look religious are in his business? Because as the Torah tells us, when it comes to money, the wise become blind. And the righteous are ignored. What do you mean righteous and ignored? The wise people that are smart, generally speaking, they're smart. You tell them how to build a building, they know how to build a building. You ask them to build a company, they know how to build a company. Within a few months, the guy already has a call center with 100 employees. He knows how to build a business. He knows how to do the accounting. He knows how to do the whole operation. Generally smart people. But when it comes to money, all of a sudden, when it comes to ethics and things like that, all of a sudden becomes stupid. Blind, doesn't see. No. Yeah, I know it's not exactly the most ethical, but the rabbi says it's okay. Yeah, but you know inside you it's not okay. You know inside you it's not okay. You don't need the rabbi to tell you it's okay, not okay. You know inside you when your customer called you 6, 8, 9, 10 months after you lend them the money, crying to you because they're taking his house, crying to you because he can't pay the loan and he knows he's going to lose everything because of it, you already knew on that day that it's wrong to be in his business. When the client told you his wife just left him, a husband just left her because of the loan they did with you because it ruined their life, you knew at that moment it's wrong. Maybe you have the excuse you didn't know in the beginning what the consequences are going to be, which by itself already shows you're a little stupid. But let's say you have the cuff screwed. Let's say you made a mistake in the beginning. 6 months, 8 months of the business, you're going to see people default. That's how that business works. You see people default. People borrow a bunch of money that they can't pay back because they have really, really optimistic, perspective, and they're really optimistic about their future. It doesn't always work out that way. The business collapses, or it doesn't meet their demands, or it grows, but not enough to meet this 40, 50, 60, 90% interest that they're paying. And everything collapses. So you saw people default. They called you. You saw people lose their life savings. They called you. They cried to you. Meaning at some point you saw it's not right. And you still continued. You are giving power to Amalek. You're acting just like them. With or without the payers. With or without the beard. You know it's wrong. You don't need a rabbi to tell you. But now you have one. You don't need a rabbi to tell. But now you have one. Why? Because you know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. Same thing with this other guy told me when I was on Wall Street. There was one guy told me, listen, there's this guy opened a firm called John Thomas. Within a matter of a few months, this guy has the entire floor full of brokers. It's very unusual for a brokerage firm to grow that fast. I heard a little bit about the operation. I said, give them a little bit of time. They're going to get shut down by the government. A little time passed. They actually stole 14 of my employees in 1 week. Bunch of guys bought the dream. I told them don't buy it. They bought the dream. They went there. Within a matter of, I think, a year and a half, 2 years, the guy had 2 or 3 floors full of people. Hundreds of guys. Big money. Guys are printing money there. And everybody keeps asking, why don't you do the same thing as him? Why don't you do the same thing as him? Look, the guy's growing so fast. You already had the firm for 12, 13 years. You're not even 10% of his size. This guy's growing in a year and a half. He's much bigger than you. He's this, he's that, he's this. I said, listen, mark my words. This guy's going to jail. He goes, why? Why do you always assume everybody who's doing better than you is a criminal? I said, it has nothing to do with better than me or not better than me. I'm Baruch Hashem doing okay. It doesn't matter. What he's doing is wrong. I know what he's doing and it's wrong. He's taking advantage of people. He's getting people to invest in things that are fake. He's getting people to invest in things that he has a vested interest in, and so on and so forth. No one wanted to listen. A bunch of guys left my firm, went to work for him. After about 3, 4 years of him doing it, maybe even a little less, 3 years I think it was, something like that. Secretary opens the door. Boom! FBI! Starts everybody, 300, 400 guys are shocked to death. Why? FBI, SEC, whole place is shut down. 1 second. Why? You knew it was wrong. You knew it was wrong. Don't play stupid. If it was a Ponzi scheme, you knew it was a Ponzi scheme. If it was fraud, you knew it was fraud. If it was unethical, you knew it was unethical. Stop playing the victim. Oh, I didn't know. You can't go to Shamayim and say, I didn't know. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's in your head. You could fool the judge like you didn't know. You could fool your wife and your husband that you didn't know. You could fool your kids and your boss and your cousin and the customer. You could fool everybody that you didn't know. In Shamayim, there's no I didn't know. Why? They're going to show you your thoughts. They're going to show you your thoughts. And there's no I don't know in Shamayim. If you're doing something wrong, they're going to show you in Shamayim, you knew. And it's going to be so embarrassing because they're going to bring all of your victims to watch. All of the people you fooled to watch. The people that you lied to them that you didn't know, they're going to show you them. They're going to watch and say, oh, you did know, huh? How come you lied? And from the embarrassment, the sages said, the embarrassment that the soul has at that moment, the soul starts begging HaKadosh Baruch Hu to send it to Gehenom. It says the embarrassment from all of those other neshamot, you're being exposed in front of all these people. The embarrassment, the soul says to Hashem, please send me into the fire. I'd rather burn in Gehenom than continue dealing with this. You knew. Don't pretend like you didn't know. But they're also going to show you what outcome happened. How you gave more power to Amalek. How the Nazis, the anti-Semites, used you as an excuse. Now, of course, some of these Nazis like to use my videos too. It's like, see, he's proving that the Jews are taking advantage of the Goyim. Yeah, but if you watch the whole video, you also see that I'm talking about God. I'm talking about a lot of other things. It's my job to rebuke the Jewish people and the non-Jewish people. Why? That's what Torah says. There's no favoritism here. That doesn't give the non-Jews a permission to hate Jews. They're going to go to Gehenom with no end for hating Jews. But the point being, Rabotai, is that when it comes to Torah, there's no favoritism. There's no favoritism. There's no permission for anyone to take advantage of anyone. Why do people do it? Ignorant of the law or careless. Those are the only two conditions. Either ignorant or careless of the law. Now, this is a very, very big mistake that all of us suffer for. Hence the reason why I'm telling you and all the people that are watching this. Because everybody here knows somebody that knows somebody, connected to somebody that perhaps is doing something that falls into this. It may not be cash advance, but it's something else that you know is unethical. Or perhaps you did it in your past. Or you're doing it now. The point is that you're here watching this because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to watch it. Whether it's today, according to the Christian calendar, 2020, 5780 according to Am Yisrael, or you're watching it 5 years after we did the shiur. You're watching it right now because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to watch it because it does affect you somehow. This means, Rabotai, we have a responsibility because we do not want to give power to Haman. That was the mistake that led to a near annihilation of Am Yisrael. When we became so obsessed with money, we showed up to a party at Achashverosh's house. We figured, listen, it's kosher food. Just because it has kosher food doesn't mean you're allowed to go there. Just because it has kosher food doesn't mean it's a kosher place. Yeah, but maybe I can network with the king and some of his other generals or something. Who says you're allowed to network with him? Who says you're allowed to be there? The problem is when we're thinking about money, we're thinking about business all the time, it's very, very easy to forget about God. And this leads us very far away from God, even to the point where we, the chosen people, the firstborn of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, become sometimes worse than the goyim that are wicked. That's the problem. When we are righteous, even the goyim look up to us like, wow. Mi ke'amcha Yisrael, who's like your nation, Hashem? Who's like this Am Yisrael? But when we're bad, even the goyim say, why'd you choose them? Why'd you choose them? Look how unethical they are. Look how wrong they are. Look how this they are. If you have a guy like Eichmann, Imach Shimo v'zichro, say that if he wasn't a Nazi guy, he says if he was a Jew, he would be a Zionist. That's what he wrote. If you have a guy like that murdered millions of people, say he wants to be a Zionist, why are you a Zionist? Who do you think knows more about Zionism, you or him? He dealt with them on a daily basis. With the founders. Not with the books that maybe you read. The point is, Rabotai, is that we cannot just be a herd of sheep and just follow blindly just because it sounds right. We have to investigate things. Because when we just become sheep, we end up getting slaughtered as a people. That's what happened during the time of Purim, where we made a mistake because of our obsession about money. Now, as we all know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu works midah keneged midah. Measure for measure. Because our obsession of money led us to that dinner, to that festive event at Achashverosh that Mordechai told us not to go to, when push came to shove, Haman got the job. And he told Achashverosh that he wants the permission to do what he wants, and he's willing to pay for it. And he paid the equivalent of $444 million to get permission to annihilate the Jews. 10,000 kesef, according to today's price of about $18.50 an ounce, is equivalent to $444 million. Meaning Haman was filthy rich, not just rich. Chazal says he was richer than Achashverosh. Paid $500 million. Why? Kill Jews. Why would Hashem make such a billionaire so obsessed with killing Jews? Go enjoy your money, you moron. What do you want to kill Jews for? Go take your $500 million, go buy some more houses, go buy a castle, go buy a planet, who knows? Go do something with your money. What do you care about killing Jews? HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses different people for different things. He takes the person that hates Jews and uses him to do what he wants, when he wants. Instead of this guy enjoying his money, enjoying his life, no, he cares about this Jewish people. There's few million people that are bothering him. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that someone that has that kind of money would even care about anybody. Go buy an island, live there by yourself, create a whole new civilization. No, I need to kill Jews. Why? Measure for measure. The Jews were obsessed with money. Hashem uses money to, chas v'shalom, hurt them. Now, the good news is that no matter what we do, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also promised us that He'll never annihilate us. He'll never destroy us. But He never promised He won't hurt us. He never promised that a Holocaust wouldn't happen. He never promised that a pogrom or an inquisition wouldn't happen. Why? He needs those tools in order to wake us up, in order for us to know and recognize that we are the chosen people and we have to act accordingly. So regardless of what happens, even when the evil Haman comes, Hitler comes, there's always a tzaddik, hidden, that's doing something to save the situation. Now I found a chidush this Shabbat. It's $1 million. I'll give it to you guys for payments monthly. In the Megillat Esther, in the beginning of the story, chapter 50, the first perek, in verse number 16, after the whole story of what happened with Vashti, a Reshait, that used to make Jewish girls work naked on Shabbat, And that's why Hashem punished her measure for measure, that she got the tzarat. She got a skin disease. She even grew a tail and a horn. She started looking, my kids call her a dinosaur. The dinosaur woman. Now this Vashti, Achashverosh killed her. She was his wife, but he killed her. And the next day, he forgot what happened. He forgot that he killed her, because he was drunk. So it says that he came to his memuchan. The memuchan, this came to the king, that the queen acted against him. But not only against him, against the officials. Now the midrash that everybody knows is that this memuchan comes from the word muchan, which means ready to commit crimes, ready to do something. And they said that's another name for Haman. Haman was waiting for Vashti to do something so he could be at the king's side and get some control. That's the general midrash. You're going to find an art scroll, you're going to find, that's the common thing. But if you notice, when you read the Megillah, the word memuchan is written in two ways. One with a vav, one without a vav. So how come the same word is written in two different ways? And how come it's written memuchan? Why doesn't it just say Haman? So if you look at the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, towards the end of the book, it says that memuchan was also Daniel. Daniel the prophet, who lived at the same time. Daniel the prophet was here in this picture. You don't see his name in the Megillah. Why? He's Memuchan. So how can he be Memuchan and Haman be Memuchan? It says because Memuchan is not a person's name, but a tafkid, a job, like a general, an advisor. Haman was an advisor. Daniel the prophet was an advisor. Haman was the advisor to try to bring bad for the Jews. Daniel was trying to bring good for the Jews, and the salvation came from his advice. So even though Hashem was letting the world see what Haman was doing to try to destroy the Jews, we were so focused with this annihilation that's coming. Oh no, what's going to happen? Hashem says, don't worry, I got Daniel on the side over here. He's got everything ready, don't worry. You just don't see him. Why? I called him Memuchan. You don't even see him in the entire Megillah. What's the difference? Missing Vav. One letter difference, same word. But you can't get it from one midrash, you have to go to a different midrash 500 years ago. So we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as he's giving the sickness, he already has the cure. This is why, Rabotai Yekarim, Am Yisrael is constantly, no matter what we've done, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always going to use these different tools, even if that tool is anti-Semitism, even if that tool is Chas v'Shalom a Holocaust, he's going to use those tools to remind us that we are the chosen people. Now, it's important for us to know Hashem doesn't want to use these tools to hurt us, but nonetheless, we are forcing his hand. But the good news is that Am Yisrael is constantly compared to the Levana. Levana is the moon. Just as the moon goes blank, you don't see anything, the situation looks dark. It looks like a Holocaust. Hashem says, don't worry. Tomorrow, it's going to be a full moon. Tomorrow you're going to start seeing the moon. Tomorrow you're going to see a little sliver. Within 50, it's full. Short period, it's full. From nothing, it's full. After the Holocaust, a lot of good things happened. We got Medinat Israel. A lot of people went to Eretz Israel from all over the world. You started seeing Torah grow in the world. After the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, we saw the Gemara. The Gemara flourished all over the world. After all of the bad things, good things happen. Why? Hashem is going to bring us the good one way or the other. But why not be part of the good in a good way? Why do we have to force Hashem's hand to give us bad first? And the good only goes to the good people. It doesn't go to the bad people. I mean, the people that brought the bad, they don't get saved with the good. This is why on Tuesday, it's Rosh Chodesh, Rav Papa says as we decrease happiness in the Rosh Chodesh of Av, we increase happiness on Rosh Chodesh Adar. So the question is, what does one thing have to do with the other? Okay, we know that Av, Tisha B'Av, destruction of Bet HaMikdash, we get it. But what's the connection that we have to decrease our happiness during Av? Okay, we get it, we have to decrease our happiness, we cry destruction of Bet HaMikdash. But why is that connected to increased happiness during Adar, during the month of where there's Purim? It says it's another symbolic way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to remember. No matter how dark it is, even if it's as dark as Av, remember there's going to be Adar. Adar is coming also. Good times are also coming. And that's why in the Gemara Masechet Makot, when Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua, and Rabbi Akiva were once walking and they saw the Bet HaMikdash was tarnished, and they saw a desecration of the Bet HaMikdash when they saw a fox come out of the Kodesh Kodashim. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua started crying. Rabbi Akiva started laughing. So Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua said, "Why are you laughing?" Rabbi Akiva says to them, "Why are you crying?" That's the question. You're crying. I'm laughing. Why are you crying? He says, "Look at the Bet HaMikdash. It's become a place like a zoo. There's animals coming out of the Kodesh Kodashim. Shekhinah was there. Now there's an animal. Why wouldn't we cry? Why are you laughing?" Rabbi Akiva says, we already know from the prophets that if we do bad, destruction of the Bet HaMikdash is going to come. But I laugh because if that prophecy of Uriah, which tells us about destruction, was fulfilled, then that means that the prophecy of Zechariah, which talks about Mashiach, talks about salvation, will also be fulfilled. If the bad was fulfilled, if the darkness was fulfilled, so will the light. That's why I laugh. A Jew needs to know that despite all the things that are happening in the world, there is only one way to fight the bad. It's not with your own personal idea. It's not with your own personal campaign. It's not with your own personal anything. It's already with the instruction said that Kadosh Baruch Hu already told us years ago, which is the only cure for the spiritual cancer that we've been living in. The only solution, the only cure is Torah. Now, when it comes down, need a new battery. Give me the black bag, the whole black bag, and search in there in the left compartment over there if there's AAA batteries on the bottom. One. Thank you, Tzaddik. Thank you for noticing. So, when a person sees that the Jewish people around him are not doing things that are in accordance with what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, naturally, he's going to want to do something about it. If his Jewish neshama is still alive, he's going to want to do something about it. Now, it's important to know that if what you're about to do is not in accordance with the Torah, it's wrong, by default. You're never going to have an idea that's better than the Torah. Now, where does this apply to us? If you know somebody that's in an unethical business, you trying to convince them in any other way outside of the Torah to leave this business is not the right way to do it. Why? Because if you don't teach them that what they're doing is unethical and it's wrong, even if they leave the business, they're just going to replace it with a different fraud. Meaning if you tell them, listen, this business is not really that great, there's another business you can make more money in. Or this business is not paying you enough. Or you're going to come up with some type of excuse for them to leave the business, but not tell them that it's forbidden to be in such a business, then guess what? All they're going to do is they're going to go to another unethical business and continue performing their crimes in another way. Meaning that the only way to save these people that are in unethical business and doing business unethically is by telling them, you are going to get punished because you're doing things that are against God. Right now this is happening not just in his business, it's happening in other businesses. Someone told me that right now there's a whole big corruption happening in the business of masks because of all this coronavirus. So people are buying and selling different masks and cheating each other, not paying each other. The guy bought $1 million worth of masks but didn't pay the guy, declared bankruptcy by the time it was time to pay. All types of corruption amongst each other. It's not enough that they're making a killing on something that wasn't even noticeable 6 months ago. That's not enough. They want the whole pie. Corruption, Rabotai, the only way to solve it is by telling people you're going to have to pay for it in the end. Not only are you going to go to Gehenom, not only are you going against Hashem, but you should remember, every single penny you're making, every single penny you're going to lose. Every single penny is going to be used for medical expenses. Every single penny you're going to lose for lawsuits. Every single penny you're never going to enjoy. Every single penny. Yeah, but there's a lot of criminals that are enjoying their money. Give it time. I promise you, give it time, you'll see how they regret the day they were born. I met a lot of people like that on Wall Street. They tried to cheat a few people. Eventually, they paid with their life. And I still see people do that. Every day you see people cheating, you should tell them, Torah says it's not allowed. And show them this lecture. Why? This is the only real solution. If you don't tell them this solution, they're going to replace this unethical business with another unethical business. So that other solution is not a solution. Furthermore, if you see, for example, other types of wrongdoings in your community, for example, the first example we mentioned, like racism. If you tell people, listen, you should be, just ignore him. He's not your color, he's not your tradition, he's not this, just, why do you have to be so racist? Just ignore him. That's not a solution. That's not a solution. Why? He may ignore him today, but first opportunity he's not. You have to explain to this person that it's wrong. It's wrong to view people based on color. It's wrong to view people based on their race. It's wrong to view people based on their tradition, whether they're Yemenites or they're Sephardi or they're Litai or they're Hasidish or whatever they are. It doesn't matter. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not care. He doesn't have a Beit Din and a Gan Eden and Gehenom for black people and white people all separate. Everyone goes to the same place. You're righteous, you're going to Gan Eden. You're wicked, there's a special place for you in Gehenom waiting. It's very important for people to know the judgment is the same regardless of what your background is. But that also means that your solution to the problem that you see in your life or your community when it comes to racism cannot be from your own head. Because there's some people that want to be vocal about it. Oh, I want to make my voice heard. I want people to recognize us because we're such and such. We're black, we're blue, we're green, we're burgundy. I want people to know it. This is not Judaism. You're wrong for doing it. How do I know it's not Judaism? I'll prove it to you. Also got this chidush on Shabbat. If you've ever spent a few hours reading a holy sefer, whether it's the Chumash and you're looking at commentary, or you look at any other sefer from Am Yisrael, a Musar sefer, a Lacha sefer, any sefer, you're always going to see that whoever the author is, he is quoting other Chachamim. He's going to quote Rabbi Akiva. He's going to quote Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He's going to quote the Rambam. He's going to quote the Baal Shem Tov. He's going to quote all types of big tzaddikim. He's going to quote Moshe Rabbeinu. He's going to quote Avraham Avinu. Now, did you ever notice that no matter how many sources he has for what he says, and how many rabbis' names he uses, there's never a picture of any of these people in the book. You're never going to see a picture of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The one that's on the internet is fake. Somebody just made it up. Doesn't look like him. It's not him. We don't have a picture of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Guess what? We don't have a picture of Rabbi Akiva either. We don't have a picture of Moshe Rabbeinu. We don't have a picture of Aaron HaKohen. We have no idea what they look like. And guess what? No one cares. You're never going to see a single sefer with a real picture of any of these chachamim. Why? We don't care what they look like. We care what they say. Am Yisrael doesn't care what you look like. It cares what you say. If the idea is holy, it's valid, it's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, what do I care if you have a horn coming out of your left nostril, and you're black, and you're green, and you're burgundy? What do I care? Your eyes are like this, or your eyes are like this. What do I care? Your idea came from Mount Sinai. Ishtabach Shemo La'ad. That's a major difference between Am Yisrael and the Goyim. If you look at the Goyim, or the Amalekites, you see that their idea was only valid because of who said it, not because of the idea itself. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, their ideas were fantastic ideas, but only because they were black. If a little white guy came out and said, "Oh, I'm such," guess what? That white guy's getting thrown off the building. Why? What are you going to talk about black people? What are you talking about? Who are you? Who, little whitey? Get out of here, cracker. Get out of here. Get out of here. What are you talking about? Are you going to lead us? Who are you? Who are you? What are you talking about? That's the truth. But guess what? If some black guy came to the Zionists and told them, "Hey, we need a country, Israel." It's like, what? Who are you? What are you talking about? Go back to wherever you came from. We need some white guy to tell us. We need some white guy to tell us that Zionism is this and this. Same thing with all secular ideas. The idea is only valid because of who said it. But if you change the color, you change the shape, all of a sudden the idea is no longer valid. Why? Because it's a false man-made idea. Holy ideas, ideas that come from Mount Sinai, it doesn't matter who says them. It doesn't matter who says them. That's why we don't have pictures in the Siddur. That's why we don't have pictures in the Chumash. We don't have pictures. We don't have any of these pictures. If it was so important to know what Moshe Rabbeinu looked like, guess what? HaKadosh Baruch Hu would make sure one of these people would paint a picture of him. And we'd have it in the beginning of every Siddur, of every Chumash, of every everything. You'd have it tattooed on your forehead. Just so you don't forget. But Am Yisrael does not care about what you look like. So whether you are, black or blue or green or white, the only solution to the hatred because of color and race and culture and so on is the same thing that has made Am Yisrael Am Yisrael. And that's the idea that comes out of your mouth. Not your color. Don't ask for credit or ask for attention because of it. You want to be something? You want to be treated special? Be one of those people that brings the solid idea to the nation that comes from Mount Sinai. And if it's a legitimate idea, guess what? Eventually, no one's going to care what you look like. Why? Because the idea is valid. So long as people care what you look like, that means there's something wrong with the idea. Maybe it's a little bit too much you and less God. The more God is in that idea, the less people care about what you look like. Surely there's always going to be people that hate just because they have nothing else to do. But if you know that your idea comes from HaShem himself, you have sources from the Torah, then you could be proud that your name is sitting side by side with the rest of the oral Torah, with the Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the Rambam, the Ramban, instead of trying to be the voice of power in your community of color or non-color. Why don't you be the voice for the entire nation? One should be the voice for the whole people that's been struggling to survive for 3,300 years. Put your own personal agenda aside and fight for all of Am Yisrael. People that do that succeed, not only in their own communities, but generally. That's what we've seen throughout all of our history, and we're seeing it even today. But the ones that focus so much on their own culture, on their own everything, they end up becoming nobodies, a forgotten idea, a memory. A memory. All of these people that I mentioned, whether it's the Zionists or it's the Malcolm X's of the world, they're only important in their own communities. They're only important in their own backyard. No one cares about them anywhere else. But the Jewish sages, they're mentioned anywhere and everywhere. People quote the Rambam, even if they don't even know what Judaism is. People mention the ideas we have in the Midrash, in rap songs, even though they don't even know what the Midrash is. The ideas of the Torah are eternal. The ideas of the Torah are everywhere, even when people don't know where they're coming from. Why? Because for anything to be good, it has to have a source from the Torah. If it's not in the Torah, it cannot be good. If your idea is good, that means you have to have a source in the Torah. That means your color doesn't matter. That means your gender doesn't matter. That means that nothing matters other than the idea itself. This is one of the things that Amalek will try to ruin within ourselves, to make us focus on things that don't matter. Quite frankly, the opposite. Make us highlight how we should separate the Sephardis over here, and the Ashkenazis over here, and the Yemenites over here, and the blacks over here, but the blacks that are converts are over here. The blacks that are natural born, they're over here. And then there's hatred among them, because, oh, listen, I'm black, but I'm Arab. I'm this, I'm that. Everybody has an excuse to hate each other. This is nonsense. This is not Judaism. This is what's destroying Judaism. It's time people read the parasha, read the Megillah, read what we actually are saying that we'll read, and see this is what the truth is. Not your own personal agenda and your own personal meetings and your own personal idea. In Shemaim, they don't care what your personal idea is. They care less. They care less. I have no idea why people are racist. I don't see color. But surely they have their own excuse. Satan loves those excuses. He loves them. Why? He's given him a full-time job. Don't be one of those victims that ruins their life by filling their heart with a bunch of unnecessary hatred. You want to hate somebody? Hate Amalek. You want to hate somebody? Hate Amalek. Hate Amalek, even if Amalek is your brother. That's who you're obligated to hate. You have to hate Amalek. But to hate another fellow Jew because of a certain background and so on, for what? For what? Follow the tradition of Am Yisrael. This is by far the biggest miracle out of Purim itself. The fact that we're still here. Despite our differences, despite our obstacles, despite sometimes our nonsensical hatred. That's really the biggest miracle of the entire story. The fact that we're still here and that HaShem is giving us another chance. Just like the Levanah. Every month we get a new chance to look pretty. Every month we get another chance. Every month we get another chance. It looks really dark, but then HaShem gives us another chance. But Rabotai, we also have to remember that those chances eventually run out. When we do Chidush Levanah, the prayer of the Levanah, every month, we also sing during that prayer about David Melech Yisrael, Chai V'Kayam. What does David Melech Yisrael, Chai V'Kayam, have to do with the renewal of the moon? David Melech Yisrael is symbolic of the eventual end. The eventual culmination of this world. When the Mashiach comes, Mashiach ben David. That's going to be the last day when all of us run out of time. No more mitzvot. No more teshuvah. No more chances to stop your racism and your prejudice and your dishonest business and lack of ethics. No more chances. So now you have to remember every month we're getting another chance. Okay, you messed up this month, you have next month to do better. You messed up this month, you have next month to do better. It looks bad, the moon is really dark. Okay, it's going to get light a little sooner and eventually it's going to be a full moon. But always remember, eventually you're going to run out of time. So don't think that you could stay in this unethical business for a long time or even for another few months, because we have no idea when the end is. That's why we sing about it every month. It's time all of us do teshuvah. If you're racist, take that racism and throw it in the garbage. That's not Judaism. Doesn't matter if the Sephardi guy hurts you or the Ashkenazi guy hurts you, or it doesn't. Even if they hate you, you're not allowed to hate them back. Even if they say, listen, we're not going to accept your kids because you're Sephardi, we're not going to accept you into our Ashkenazi yeshivot. You're still not allowed to hate them. They don't like you? Good, okay. They have their din in Shamayim. You're not allowed to hate them back. They're wrong. They're sinning. But they're not all of the Ashkenazi people. They're just a few people. Don't judge the entire people because of a few. Don't be like the Goyim that judge the entire nation of Am Yisrael just because they got taken advantage of by a few crooked Jews. This, Rabotai, is very, very important. This is the miracle. This is the whole story of Purim. We're still here despite our differences. We're still here despite our difficulties, despite the Holocaust. And the only thing that's constantly trying to destroy us is either the Amalek outside or the Amalek that's inside. That's the reason. That's the reason HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, remember Amalek twice. Remember the Amalek that's on the outside. That's the Hitlers. That's Haman. That's the Nazis. That's all these people that want to kill us for no reason. That's the Amalek outside. But don't forget, there's also Amalek inside. Sometimes it's inside our government. Sometimes it's inside our household. Sometimes it's inside our company. Sometimes it's inside anything. Sometimes it's us. We have a midat Amalek. We're acting in an inappropriate way that our sages say, this is how Amalek behaves. You're unethical, that's Amalek. You're openly homosexual, that's Amalek. You have an Amalek inside you, remove it. Why? If you don't remove it, HaShem says, I'm going to remove it. It's very important for us to know that the story of Purim is very deep to no end. These are some of the things we can learn from it. Be'ezrat HaShem, hopefully we could apply all of this, or at least some of this, to our lives today, tomorrow, and every day. And Be'ezrat HaShem, bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu some nachat from His people, so He doesn't have to bring us any type of suffering whatsoever, but rather bring us salvation, blessing for us and for all of Klal Yisrael. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen.